Hello and welcome. This is the Tiffany's Fitness Podcast, a podcast where I talk to coaches, athletes, and strength enthusiasts about strength, coaching, life, balance, and more. My name is Tiffany, and today's guest is Taylor Neal. You may know her from Instagram and TikTok as Tailored for Strength. She is an awesome and fabulously nerdy strength coach, and we had such a great time chatting about strength and video games and more. So enjoy the episode, and I'll be back at the end. Well, so I know we've been following each other for, I feel like a while on TikTok.
A while.
And so how long have you been strength? Tell me your strength training story.
So it cracks me up because I was a swimmer all growing up. So very involved in athletics to a degree. Didn't end up swimming through college, pretty much fell out of all exercise for most of my 20s. I think like anyone, pandemic happened and we all just fell into well, I need to do something. So I was in retail. I guess I was coming up on my 6th or 7th year of retail management at a grocery store chain and started doing Beachbody of all things, because we all have done the Beachbody thing at some point or another. Met some really, really wonderful people and, got roped in to Beachbody coaching. And literally a month and a half into that, I was like, one, this is not for real. There's something wrong here. My little brain was like, that this isn't right. Yeah. But it was enough for me to realize oh shit, I really love doing this. This is what I want to be doing. I want to be doing something involved in movement. So that is when I pretty much decided. I had not received my undergraduate degree at this point at 26, 27. And I was like, this is what I want to do with my life, but I want to do it for real and not this way. Yeah. So literally 4 to 6 weeks after starting that, I ditched it and I was like, this is so wrong. This is not what I'm doing, and applied to go back to school. Spent 2 years getting my undergraduate degree in exercise science because I had a bunch of credits that rolled through. Thank God. Going back to school as an adult while you're working is crazy.
Yeah.
And I was pregnant for my last semester.
I couldn't do it. I look back at what I did in college and all the things I was juggling. I was like, man, I was probably smarter then. I don't think I could do the things that I was doing. And then also I was a little bit hungover a lot of the time.
Oh, yeah. It's crazy. It really is. So I went back to school. I got my personal training cert probably 2 or 3 months after I had the Beachbody aha moment. So I got the personal training cert and then went back to school because I was like, if I'm going to do this, I had my sights hell bent on that certified strength and conditioning specialist certification. Mm-hmm. I was like, if I'm going to do this, this is what I want to do. So you have to have an undergraduate degree. And I was like, if I have to have an undergraduate degree to get this, I might as well be in exercise science. Went back to school for 2 years, passed the test, not this past February, but the previous February. So 2023, right before I had my child in May. And it's just been building a business over the course of 2024 now. So over the course of 4 years, just getting experience, internship, taking on clients, learning as you go. I joke that if I ever write a autobiography, it'll literally just be called Falling Forward, because I just sort of figuring it all out as I go through the motions. To
be fair, I think that's what all of us are doing as trainers. None of us have planned any of the things that we're doing. I truly never wanted to own a business. That was never
really
ever. In fact, I don't like it. I don't like running the business end of things.
It sucks.
No, I hate it. What I wanted to do, very specifically why I became a trainer, was so I wouldn't have to stare at a computer all day, because I was an accountant. An actual accountant, not an accountant. No. I was an accountant. I worked at a hotel in the basement of a hotel, and I would wake up at 4:30 in the morning, and I'd get to the gym right when it opened at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I would do my little workout and whatever. And I was like, I am so tired of the computer. I am staring at numbers. I was probably not very good at it either. I don't know that I was built to be an accountant. My degree is not in accounting. My degree is in communication.
You communicate with numbers.
I was mostly communicating and email being like, please send me your invoices. This lady's been yelling at me for weeks. And that was very specifically like, I was like, I don't want to stare at computers all day. I want to be like talking to people all the time, and I want to be
Right.
doing all the things that like I can help people with movement. And then that's what I was doing. And then we all know what happened. A pandemic
Yep.
happened, so everything's back online because I was working in gyms. And when I first got to Colorado, I was just, because we got to Colorado April 2020. It's when
Oh,
I moved to
wow.
Colorado.
So
Yeah.
like in the thick of it.
Yeah, it was kind of like a weird rescue mission to get me to Colorado because my husband left February 2020 and I had stayed back because I worked for a bunch of small gyms and I didn't want to leave them high and dry without finding someone to replace me. Like that was like, I was like, I'm not going to leave these gyms that like are like people that I know.
Yeah.
And then and then they all left me high and dry immediately. Like they didn't send emails or like send meetings or send me a call to tell me that the classes were canceled. I got mind body notification over and over and over again of all of my classes being canceled. And then I went on Instagram and all of like both the gyms, three of the gyms I worked for at the time, had posted that they were canceling everything
Oh
in
my
person.
God.
And I was like, my husband is gone. Like he left. I'm in not a great part of San Diego. I'm in El Cajon, is kind of a little
Oh gosh.
sketchy area by myself. And like I had friends and stuff there, but also they were dealing with a pandemic and children
Yeah.
being home all the time. So like it wasn't like I had like a whole lot going for me. And and then my landlord got really aggressive.
Oh gosh.
I told him I had to leave, and he got really mad at me. And he got like, and I was like, I told my husband left. Like, you knew I was leaving him. He's like, well, you can't just leave. And I was like, I can just leave. Like,
Yeah.
like, like I wasn't planning. Like, there's no like, I'm not paying you rent or anything. It was just like, this is like my notice. I'm leaving.
Yeah.
And he got really aggressive and weird. And I lived next door to him. Like to take my dog out, I had to walk by his door every day, and
Oh goodness.
it felt really unsafe. So I like was talking to like my parents, and they were supposed to do a concert. But the concert got canceled because of COVID, and so they had planned this 4-day weekend, and so they are like, well, we'll just come down tomorrow,
Yeah.
we had a trailer from something, and we loaded the trailer. I had packed about 70% of the stuff, and the next
Wow.
morning they showed up. Or no, they showed up really late that night, and then the next morning they came in, and my brother lived at that time in Oceanside because he's a Marine, so he came down. One of our other friends is in the Navy, and he was down in San Diego doing Navy lawyer thing, so he came in and helped. So we all just like really quickly like picked all my stuff up and got in the trailer, and I went and stayed with my grandparents for a couple of weeks until we could do the big drive out to Colorado.
But
And
it's like crazy how you had all of those people there just like
yeah,
lined up serendipitously.
it worked out. Like as far as like everything kind of fell apart, but also like it fell apart just enough and just well enough for everyone else to also like be like, oh, I'm available to help. I was like, okay,
Yep,
cool,
falling
thanks.
forward.
Yeah, that's it. I just stumbled into it, and then when I got to Colorado, I was just biding my time because I thought I'd be able to go work at a gym again.
Yeah.
So I was just
I
like,
think we
oh, well,
all
it's
kind
gonna
of
be,
thought that.
yeah. So I was like, well, I'll just wait like a month, and I'll just wait until the gyms are open again. And then the gyms weren't open. So I was like, okay. And I was doing like some online classes, and I was just biding my time. And then eventually I was like, I think this is not going to happen. I think we're stuck. So I had to shift to the online training stuff. And I do love coaching online. Like I love my online clients, and I've got to coach people I would have never gotten to coach. Like I've had
Yeah.
clients in New Zealand and Australia and Puerto Rico. Like I've had all sorts of cool clients that I would have never interacted with had there not been that. But also I'm a terrible business person. So
The business side of business, I think is what, if you don't have like a level of tenacity and a willingness to learn to be good at business, you are not going to be a good business owner. Like I think I've talked about this with some of my closest friends. I am maybe my own worst boss. And I'm getting that parenting has made me better at it, because there is nothing that will force you to have some level of, what's the word I'm looking for? Just like responsibility, even over your entire life, over everything. Because
Yeah.
you realize, like, oh shit, like I'm the adult. Like I look at my
Oh
kids, I'm like,
no.
I'm your mom. I'm somebody's mom.
There's somebody. This is a whole person that I'm responsible for the rest of their life.
Yeah, she just turned one, and when they become little people and they can
Mm-hmm.
communicate and there's thoughts and feelings and things are happening in their little brains, and you're like, oh, like I think the first time I had to discipline, and discipline is such a loose word, it was literally just like a foot on the high chair. And I thought it
Mm-hmm.
was so funny that this baby's foot is on their high chair, and I'm like, oh wait, like I can't sit here and laugh. I have to tell you that this isn't socially responsible. Like this stinks.
You can't have your feet where your food are. Food is.
But all I want is to be like, sure, put your feet up there. So it really does
No.
force you to get good at least managing yourself and your time, I feel like. But
Yeah.
being a business
Yeah.
owner is crazy.
No, I just want to coach, and someone else can do all of the business end is all I want. But I'm doing it. Like I'm doing the business stuff. I'm still
Yep.
doing it. I just like have several mental breakdowns during tax season. It's cool. It's super chill.
Do you have like a tax person that you could go to every year that at least like helps you
I
through the mental
move.
breakdown? Oh, we
So
just
this
found
year,
someone.
so so and also my taxes are a nightmare because I'm moving. I'm not actually a resident of the state that I live in because of the whole military thing.
Oh
So,
shit.
but my business income is coming in from whatever state that I'm in. It's a whole thing. And
Yeah, that's crazy.
this year I was doing all of my taxes from a different state because we got here like December 31st. So I was doing all of my taxes for Colorado, but I was in Washington, so nobody here was helpful. They were like, sucks,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. Having
I
like
think
a home
no
base
one's,
is helpful.
yeah, it's really good. So yeah, no, I did. I asked, and all of the people I talked to, they were like, oh, "We don't really know Colorado taxes," and I was like, "It's good. Congratulations, I also don't know Colorado taxes, but they haven't. They never yelled at me, so I feel like I must have done decently enough."
I don't know what happened to our generation that we all file our taxes, and like I feel like everyone I talk to who's right around my age, there's this deep-seated fear that someone's going to knock on the door and just be like, "You're going to jail today."
Oh
Like, I
my
know
god,
that's not how that works, but
I
boy,
don't think
howdy,
so.
something happened in my childhood that made me think it was going to work that way.
Well, they got Al Capone for tax evasion, so why wouldn't they get me? You know.
Oh my gosh. Well, we're not evading taxes, is the good news.
No, I'm trying really hard to pay my taxes and they make it confusing.
So I was going to ask you, in the same vein that you asked about sort of like my up and comings, when did you start doing like competition kettlebells? Because I think before I started following you, I had never even heard of that. And then I look at some of the things you do and I'm like, this is so cool to me. It is just so neat.
Yeah, I lived in Central California, and that's when I started training like by Yosemite area. And I basically just ended up following a bunch of I had the one kettlebell, my little orange kettlebell that I gave my client. And in order to like learn how to do kettlebells when I first started learning how to re-strength train, though I was an athlete and stuff, I had never used kettlebells. I went on Instagram and I found kettlebell people, and I just literally I ended up following a bunch of kettlebell sport people somehow. It was like it was just super weird because it was even smaller back then. So I ended up
Yeah.
following a woman named Kim Fox, who is like probably the best woman in the world at it. She does like professional level double 24 kilo 10-minute clean and
Holy cow.
jerks. She's amazing. One of the best lifters I think alive, even though she's in a very niche sport that nobody talks about.
No, I think that's huge.
Yeah, they just did the world championships, and I think she won. She was in Poland. Yeah, so like I ended up following her, and then like a bunch of people from this gym called Core in San Diego, and I just thought that's what people did with kettlebells. Like that's really I was like, oh, we're doing snatch, we're doing jerks, we're doing long cycle. okay, I guess that's what we do with kettlebells. So I just started learning how to do the stuff out just by copying them. And we eventually were trying to leave the mountain area, and we ended up picking San Diego, but we were going to go visit first. And this lovely guy named Pete, he saw that I had posted that I was going to San Diego, and he tagged literally every single person from the gym core. And was like, you have to go to the gym. It tagged everyone who worked there.
Oh my
And I was
God.
like, I guess I have to go to this gym. Like, and it was like such a small community of people at that time on Instagram. Like it was like 2016 or 17.
Okay.
So it was like,
Yeah.
it was a lot smaller niche communities at that point. And I was like, I guess I have to go. Like, I feel like really weird not going because these are people that I've been interacting with. And I went to this gym and I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever done. I went to like a 6 a.m. class. I met a guy named Dan Betcher. He was one of the owners of the gym. And I told him, I was like, I really want to do sport. And because the class was just a regular kettlebell class, not a sport class. And he's like, well, sport is really hard. Just like want to put that in your brain right now. Like it's a hard thing to get into. It's a hard thing to keep at. It's objectively just difficult for people to stick with it. But like, if you come down here, we'd love to have you. And I was like, okay, like I'll be back. And I moved down there 3 months later, and I started training sport. And I worked with I just, like you said, falling forward. Like I stumbled into one of the best kettlebell sport gyms in the country. Like Brittany Van Stravincic was my coach for a very long time. And she's also like she was really phenomenal sport lifter when she was a sport lifter. Dan Betcher also. So like I just ended up on a team, and they had an actual kettlebell sport team. Like, because a lot of gyms, they can have like a full team. So I went to team practices with like 10, 15 other lifters twice, so 2-3 times a week.
Oh my God.
So I just like really locked into it, and it was such a cool thing. And I did my first competition like December 2017, because I moved there in July of 2017, and just sort of kept going. And then I took, and then it was all pandemics and whatever. But yeah, I did my first in-person
that offers a lot of context as to like why it felt isolating in Colorado. When you were saying if you had this and you started there, and then to go to Colorado during the
pandemic. And that gym shut down shortly before, because I got to work there for a while, and that was the coolest thing. As I finished, when I left that spot, and I went back to the hotel room where my then boyfriend was, now husband, I was like, that's where I want to work. Like, I don't know what I have to do to work at that gym, but I want to work there. Like the energy, the vibe. I was like, I didn't know gyms could feel like this, because I was working out in like a gym with like machines and stuff. And it was just like a big garage. And he was like, well, let's figure it out. Let's just see what you can do. And they eventually started hiring, and I applied. And they're like, yeah. yeah. So I got to work there until they got shut down prior to the pandemic, because of landlords, because they're the worst. It was such a weird loss, because I was like crying like the loss of like a gym, and then I moved. And I think part of the reason I even like let my husband re-enlist in the military was because I was like, well, I don't have core anymore. Like and had I still had that like community of people, it would have been so much harder to have left. And it was still really hard to leave. But yeah, then I got to Colorado, and it was just like, oh, there's no ocean here. Everyone's kind of bitchy. No. The military spouse, there's some bitchiness there, and there was, and the kettlebell gym that was in Denver, which was like a couple hours north of where I was like not doing kettlebell as much anymore. It had shifted to like more ollie lifting.
Gotcha.
And so, which is cool. And I was going up there like when I could, but they didn't do competitions the way that they had, and it wasn't the same. But I got to do a competition, my first in-person comp since 2019, like a month ago.
I saw that.
It was so much fun. I had a great time, and I went and I had a client who was competing in February, and I went. They're like, "Oh, are you competing?" And I was like, "Absolutely not," but my girl here is, so I'm really excited to watch her. And I got to like hang out with a bunch of people that I hadn't seen in years and years. And I was like, oh yeah, I remember like why I love doing this, because it's not easy. There's a lot of a physical fatigue and mental fatigue from doing an endurance weightlifting sport, as you would expect. And it was really it was tough to do it by yourself. Like I did like a really big, like it's called a candidate master sport, and you have to do very like certain amount of reps in the 10-minute with a certain weight. And I did that, but I did that by myself in my home gym. And I was just like, I did that. And like, if I was at like a gym, like with people, there would have been like, I would have gotten like a hug or like a woo.
Yeah, there's an energy.
I just did it. And I was like, that was like the hardest thing I've ever done. And now I'm just going to go downstairs and make a sandwich.
Oh do you feel like you have like a community of coaches online that you connect with still, that you talk to a lot?
So much. You're like online, but it's still like online. But it's definitely grown a lot more in the past several years. And that's also why I started the podcast, was so I could get to connect with people more. Because I like, there's only so much you can do. I've been sending voice notes back and forth with lots of people on Instagram for years, and we had never like actually had like a full conversation like this. And I was like, well, I'm sure I would love to do that. Hopefully other people would love to do that. And, you know, help both of us like become more of like an actual person to people on the internet. Because I think when people see people on the internet, they forget that we're like whole humans that exist, not just for the 30 seconds of the video that I posted today, which is like a thing.
I think about that often, like how much I do off the screen that no one sees. And like, it's nothing, you know, it's not like I'm not living some crazy adventure heavy life. Not that I necessarily even want to in this season, but there's so much going on in the day to day of who I am outside of social media. And I'm very private with my husband, my life. I'm very private with my kid's life. Like I don't show my kid on social media, and I have no, you know, ill will or any negative feelings for anyone who does. That's a decision that we've made. My husband also doesn't have social media at all. So it's very interesting that he like married. I feel like that is like the relationship dynamic. If one of you has a business on social media, the other is not on social media.
He has some accounts. He has never, I think the last time he posted was when we got wedding photos. And I was like, you have to post these so the friends that I'm not friends with see them, because like I'm not friends with half of your groomsmen or something. I was like, you have to post these so your extended family that and that was I think the very last time he posted on anything. I was like,
I send my husband's family every picture that they need to see. So I'm always giving them updates on like the baby and everything, because they're not local, but my family is, to where we are outside of Philly. And then his family will send more to the extended family, because none of them are on social media. So it's like, it's basically snail mail, but through text, so that they're like sending all these pictures to each other.
You should get, we have an Aura frame, and we just upload
We do have the Aura frame.
Yeah, it's because I don't post like my actual, everything I post basically is for my business at this point. And my mother-in-law was like, I want to see like your life. So she sent us one, and she was like, please put pictures on here at least. And I was like, I can do that.
I love that.
I can do that. I can post pictures on it. I take lots of pictures like when I'm walking and taking the dog. I don't want to post all of them on, it feels like work.
Exactly. And I think like that's such a big difference too for folks like us who are running an online business. Like I have a private Instagram account. And for a hot minute there, I was doing like, you know, my account's now all my kid, that whole life. But at a certain point, it got to the point that I was like, one, I like having a level of privacy, even within my family of my child. I like having like, you know, we got her first laugh on camera, which was crazy. And we never posted it anywhere, because I was like, you know what, this is really special to like just the three of us. For me. I feel like, you know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, that was on like a camcorder. That was like a home video. It wasn't, it wasn't available for everyone to see. So I think there's like comfort in kind of like taking root in that like that 90s kid sort of nostalgia of like, okay, like there's some stuff that just the family can keep. We don't need to put everything out there.
This is mine. Yeah, I just want to keep, and I've had to put like a lot of boundaries for myself with social media as well. Just like time that I'm spending on social media, because there's been times where I'm like really trying to like push things and like be on the internet a lot, and I was like, I have to not be on here that much, especially when I've had times where like my videos kind of popped off, and getting every single notification for comments of people just being like so angry. I was like, I can't be on this like this all of the time. This is something I need to like put down and step away from. So I try to like give myself like social media working hours. So I'm not online all of the time.
It keeps you sane.
Yeah, because it's scary out there. I don't want you to be on the internet all of the time.
No. I think there's like a new term now, and it's like chronically online.
Yes,
the kids are using, and I'm like,
doom scrolling, and I will do that if given the opportunity. I will doom scroll till the cows come home. I don't want to. I know you've mentioned like, you know, you're a little baby. Has that changed how you train at all?
Yes, in that you definitely like, I would not recommend a baby to anyone who is like not willing to just pivot in any given moment or not willing to learn how to pivot. Like there's so much that I've learned in parenthood that, you know, you get so scared, like, oh, I might not be good at this. And then it happens and you're like, oh shit, you know, it's fine. I've gotten a lot more forgiving with myself and my training. Pregnancy will also do that for you. The amount of times that I cried when I was training, when I was pregnant, because workouts that I knew should not have felt hard were so hard.
Like, you were growing a whole person.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel that way when you're doing it, and then you have to give yourself a lot of grace. It's definitely changed in the sense that like now we're currently scheming up. So we own our house. We're very, very fortunate for that. But we don't have a garage. So we can't do the traditional garage gym. So I've been training on our back patio a lot more, and I've recently started taking measurements and like looking into what getting a barbell rack out there looks like. I am also very fortunate, and I will say this with I can never thank so I have my own business. I have Tailored for Strength LLC. And then I internshiped out of school at a strength and conditioning facility in my area called Atlas Peak Performance. And so I still coach there occasionally, and they specialize in youth athletics. So they work with high schools in the area, middle schoolers, the whole 9 yards. And that's really what I focused on when I was interning as well. So they let me personal train out of there as well. You know, we pay the rent to do the whole thing, but they let me bring my kid. And that is incredible. So that has also allowed things to be pretty flexible in that when she was little, especially before she was mobile, it was much easier to like get some kind of workout in, even if it was only 1 or 2 days a week. But I would say more than anything, it's created a lot more flexibility for me in myself, in my workouts, just like recognizing that everything does not need to be all or nothing, that they're a 30-minute workout, a 15-minute workout, lift, whatever that looks like, is just as equal to a 60-minute lift. And then now in this season, when she's much more vocal and active and doing the damn thing, dumbbells and a kettlebell at home have been a saving grace. But fingers crossed that we're going to set up that home barbell soon, because that'd be a game changer.
I love having a barbell at home. I mean, I do basically all of my I do all of my
I was
training
going to say, you get it.
Yeah, I do have, this is my gym office space.
Yeah.
But also I don't have a kid, so the Army at this point I think expects us to have had children. So at his rank, they gave us a house with multiple rooms, and so I turned one into a house. They don't, so one's with my gym. It's great for me. It's my gym and an office with my computer and everything, and I do all my computer and my work in here basically. And I can't do like my bent pressing or anything in here, so I just walk out the window.
I saw you like take the barbell out the window. I was loving that.
I'm waiting for one of my neighbors to be like, what are you doing? No one said anything to me yet, but I'm sure it's coming.
I'm sure someone will say something eventually.
I am waiting for it. It's gotta come soon. but I'm afraid I'm going to hit the ceiling. So I just take it out the window. I just pop the screen out and I just step out. And
See, that's where I'm like, if
works.
I put the gym outside, I don't, the same concept, you know, if there's a lift that I'm worried might hit, like we have a little roof and the covered patio, then I just walk the barbell into the yard and there we go.
Yeah, and that's really the only like dangerous lift in here because if I'm doing deadlifts, obviously that's fine. I'm not trying to do
Yeah,
like snatches or
right.
anything. I don't know even where to start with like barbell snatches, and I'm cool with
I
that
was
at the
going to say,
moment.
it sounds from what you were saying, like competition wise with kettlebells, it's so interesting that the gym, I think you said in Colorado, switched to more Ollie
Mm-hmm.
based because what you said with the sports kettlebell reminds me a lot of Ollie. And I spent the first, 4 or 5 months of this year, 2024, really like practicing Ollie because I was like, you know what? If I have my CSCS, not every coach who has their CSCS can do Ollie. And I don't think that
Mm-hmm.
makes them a better or worse coach. But I was like, you know what? If I'm ever going to coach anyone, an athlete, a private client, whatever that looks like, that wants to learn Ollie, I was like, I need to know how to do this myself. So I was like really headstrong about making sure I at
Yeah.
least understood the basics. It reminds me, everything you do with the kettlebells reminds me very much of Ollie. I imagine you would probably pick it up pretty quickly.
There was right before the gym in San Diego closed, I was working with there's a guy in the gym who also worked there and he did a lot of Ollie lifting and I was doing a lot of sport lifting. And so we were kind of like swapping knowledge and then the
Yeah.
gym shut down. So I had done like we had like done like a couple hours of like, back and forth working out at the same time, sort of like giving each other feedback, and then and then everything fell apart as it does. So I was like, oh well, guess that's over for me.
Hey, and you never know.
But
Maybe you'll
now,
stumble into it again one day.
yeah, I don't know if this bar, because I have a power bar, I don't know if that would
Yeah.
transition to Ollie lifting. I don't know how
I
important that
mean,
is, to be
if you're
honest.
doing it recreationally, I personally don't think everyone needs an Ollie bar because I was actually like we were talking about having little voice memos with other coaches. I have a group chat
Yeah.
with two of my best friends that are coaches as well. And I asked them, I said, "Do you guys think I should get an Ollie bar and a regular bar?" And they were like, "If this is for your home gym, stick with your regular bar unless you get super specific into Ollie. And then if you're like, if that is like your bread and butter and that is what you're doing and you want to invest in another one, because that's the beauty of things too with the home gym and being a business owner is there is a level of this is a write off. This is part of my business.
That's my job.
This is
Yeah, I
my
got
job. I can
the
write off this barbell.
yes, and that was like, I hope I can because it is not a cheap barbell.
I
They're
mean,
always expensive.
I would absolutely talk to them about writing it off because you're using it for content, you're using it for your own training, you're using it for client videos. That's a write off
Mhm.
of my book.
Perfect. I'm so down because I got an Atlas power bar because I wanted the really intense center knurling for the bench
Okay,
press stuff, and you have to have center knurling because otherwise I won't know where the center of the bar is. And when I'm trying to balance the bar, like doing my thing,
that's
so
I've
I
never
got
tried a bench press. That stuff looks crazy. I should try one sometime. I don't know if I could do
start
it.
with start with a kettlebell. You could do it. Don't
Okay.
start with the barbell. It's like it's really really hard to start with the barbell.
Oh, because
The
I'm sure
kettlebell,
it's like that old,
it's
what
a
was that thing that was really popular during the pandemic where people were doing like the Thor hammer lift with the barbell and they were like lifting it as if it was
oh yeah,
just,
between the legs and yeah
yeah, they were
yeah.
doing the weird stuff.
It's a yeah, and it's this kettlebell really lends itself to a bent press because when you get into the side rack position as you're coming down, the weight of the belt should push your elbow into a better position.
Ooh, okay.
So it really puts you in a good spot to be able to do what you're supposed to do. Whereas a barbell is fighting you the entire time. So it
Yep,
takes
yep.
so if you're when you're learning the pattern, I really love the kettlebell. I don't love the dumbbell when I'm using bent pressing. It's not as good, but I love the barbell too. And it's
Oh
just
yeah.
it's also just like really nice because I can add weight. That's why I switched to barbell in the first place. Was I couldn't find kettlebells heavy enough to bent press anymore.
I imagine that's fantastic for shoulder stability too. Like
So yeah,
that level
that's like the
of
main. That's like the main thing: shoulder stability and lats,
oh, for sure. I look at
and
that and I'm like, your lats
hamstrings.
are strong as hell.
Yeah, that's
Literally,
I
I'll
got
watch you
really good.
bed press, and I'm like, holy shit! Like your lats are just doing all of that work right now.
They're really working, and it's a lot of mobility work to
Yep.
make sure that you can actually like move your shoulders in all of those weird directions, because it is objectively a weird direction to put your body in. But I love teaching it with a kettlebell, because it just, if you get in that side rack, it'll just, if the weight will just push you, and then it's really easy to
beautiful
easies. But it really helps you to get in the right spot so you can actually bench press it. Yeah. Do you ever want to compete in anything? Is that something that you'd ever be interested in doing?
I have actually been asked this with multiple things, because back when I was coaching group fitness, everyone was a little runner bunny. I used to work at RH Theory, so everyone ran marathons, half marathons. I was no interest in ever running that far. I just recently started running my farthest distance postpartum, which is about 4 miles. And I've said to folks, like, I want to be able to comfortably run 6. When I can comfortably run 6 miles, that's great. I'm happy. I'm just going to chill. I don't need to do anything crazy. For a while there, I was playing back when I first started using the barbell, I was playing with the idea of competing in powerlifting. That has since sort of just like, the passion for that just isn't quite there. Maybe Olympic lifting, but I'm also not a openly competitive person. I do not feel the need to go out and be amidst the competition. I am very much like, I love to socialize on my terms. It's the best way I'll put it. So a home gym for me works great in that regard. I will say CrossFit is currently very appealing to me, because there are a lot of parents who do CrossFit. So there is, like, I would love to connect with other parents who are lifting. I have not made that community yet. A lot of my friends, I am the only parent in my friend group. My 2 best friends do not want kids. The 2 coaches who I'm best friends with, they are unsure if they want kids. And then my immediate family who has kids, not a lot of them are into like as much fitness as, when it's your literal job. So when it comes to competing, I don't think so, but kind of in the same theme that we've talked about with that falling forward, I'll never say never for something. Because I have no idea. Maybe I'll fall in love with CrossFit and find a gym where I make a community, and then next thing you know, it becomes something I really love to do.
Metcons and whatever.
So who knows? At this time, I do not feel called to competition, but that's more just because I'm in, like, I like to say, I'm just in like a silly, goofy mood. Like, the gym
cool, though.
The gym is my playtime. I had a client ask me, they said, how do you do this? How do you do this for fun? I said, I do it for fun because this is my playground. And especially now that I have a kid climbing around, when you see kids on monkey bars and playgrounds, you realize how much we've let go of that as adults. All these movement patterns that we don't do anymore. And it kind of blows your mind when you see it in practice, because 1, kids are strong as hell. They're really strong. And 2, it makes you realize how we've let go of like playgrounds and fun in unstructured ways. And so that's what the gym is to me. The gym for me, which is why when we're talking about the bench press, the idea of like trying something new is super fun. But just like you said with kettlebell sport and competition, it's like Ollie. I thought Ollie was a blast. It was super mentally taxing, because you're really bad at it until you're good at it.
Yeah, I think a lot of training to like be competitive is just like accepting that there's going to be, you're gonna suck for a little while. And like that's part of it. Like it's the Adventure Time thing. You have to suck at something before you get to be sort of good at something. That's sort of like my life mantra for everything I do. And you know what? If you suck at something for long enough, eventually you're gonna get better. And that's okay with me. I'm cool being bad at things. I've posted plenty of things of me being very objectively bad at things. I mean, with the barbell, I'm learning how to do like front squats now. I've never done front squats because I always had access to a gym.
Front squats.
So I'm not gonna fit a squat rack in this little room. So it's like, okay, well, what other squat variations can I do? So I'm like, front squat.
You could zercher.
I've been doing a lot of zerchers as well.
I love a zercher.
And then and I've always loved Steinborns, so I'm doing a lot of Steinborn squats. Those have always been a favorite since I switched to doing barbell bench presses, mostly because it was just really convenient at the gym. Because I carry all my stuff over when I went to a gym, and I would have all my stuff, and I would do my barbell stuff, and then I would be like, okay, now I gotta do whatever other stuff I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna carry all this stuff over there. I'll just do squats here. I'll just just convenient. So I learned how to do Steinborn squats. But now that I don't have a rack, so it's like, well, now I can just practice my Steinborn squats, which is great. I have I love doing them. And the searchers, which I'm also having a really good time with. I think I like those a whole lot more than I like front squats.
Front
But
squats are
yeah.
kind of little bitches when it comes to learning them. I would say
Yeah.
that is definitely the one. I think because I just released my TTRPG programs, my tabletop role playing game programs,
Mm-hmm.
and the first block they front squat, and I get a lot of flack for that. I have to give a lot of people advice on it, mostly. And what I've really noticed is a lot of folks, and I wonder if you've noticed this with kettlebells too, because there's a lot of grip strength involved. A lot of folks who are chronically at their desk and their wrists are constantly in flexion, the second you put them in extension, it is so uncomfortable for them and they have no
Yeah.
strength through that range of motion.
Yeah. I think, yeah, this position is weird, but also, yeah, grip
Yeah,
strength, especially for sport, grip strength is the thing that gets you. Like, that's the thing that got me in my last competition set. That's why I dropped the bell. Was my
that'll do
grip.
it.
Yeah. I mean, after 10 minutes of max effort,
You know
I
what? That makes sense.
mm-hmm. So that's why I do me and the people, my clients, because I have a lot of sport clients, so much grip training. It's a lot of farmers carries. It's a lot of low swings, which is like a very specific part of the snatch type of swing. It's a lot of survival snatches, so that's really taxing on the grip, and then doing regular snatches just to like make your grip work harder. It's a lot of stuff like that. But yeah, grip strength is. So I think also with like kids, because you were mentioning like playgrounds and stuff, it's one of the things we have when we're little.
Yeah.
And it's by the time I was like in high school, probably that was probably non-existent. Like I can't
And
imagine that I
kids,
could do
they
any of
don't
that.
climb conventionally either. Like you'll watch a
Mm-mm.
child on a playground and they have many opportunities to climb that are invited with the intention of climbing. They will not take that ladder. They're going to take
No,
whatever else they
they're gonna go up
do.
the side and they're gonna swing their leg up. And I
Yep.
worked at a kid's gym for a while, which was so much fun.
Ooh,
And yeah, it's called My Gym. And it was babies to like 10 years old. So like you work
I
with
love that.
babies, which is like mommy and me sort of stuff. And then it's like basic skills for babies, like, you know, and like as they're like learning how to walk and balance and things. My favorite class though was the ninja class, and it was basically a big old obstacle course. And there's these kids and they have never, you know, been on a ribbon before, and they'd grab the ribbon and swing on it like Tarzan.
Yep.
And but they could do it. Like, and I was like, man, if I had brought like one of my like adult clients in here, I don't know if they could like grab that with the confidence that you require to grab a
Yep.
thing like that, because you can't half-ass that. That's a whole ass grab you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
And swing across what's very high for them because they're you know this
Yeah.
tall, and swing and go on to another spot and be confident enough to do that. I love that. But like I was just thinking, like, as you, I don't know, what age does that like level of confidence to just try being brave like that
Yeah.
disappear or start to go away? Because I imagine now, since it's been 5 years since I've worked in that place, like those kids are probably, some of those kids are probably in high school now,
Yep.
which is crazy to think, because there were little kids that I was like huffing around on my under my
You're like
arm.
wrangling them.
Yeah, at least the little 10-year-olds at this point would be in high school. And like I was like, oh man, I wonder how those kids are, and like if they're still like moving with that sort of confidence, if they're doing like they were doing like as a gymnastic stuff, they're doing like flips, and
Yep.
if they like how, and like maybe like doing that sort of stuff like with intention hopefully helps them to like carry that forward.
I will
Because
say, having worked in strength and conditioning with like high school and middle school athletes, first of all, I wish that I had had access to it the way these athletes do now. It is another world with the way these athletes are training and their access to information, which is both a blessing and a curse, because the amount of times as a strength coach, and I've talked to other coaches who work with youth athletes, that a kid comes in and is like, well, I saw this on TikTok. And I'm like, I love that for you, dude. But I went to school, and I'm going to tell you, your TikTok bodybuilder friend knows a lot about bodybuilding, but doesn't necessarily know a lot about athletic performance. So let's step this back a little bit. That's crazy. But if they train with intention, these kids and their movement patterns, their sports, their strength, their agility, their speed, it's another level. It is so
yeah,
cool. I am so excited. if my kid's interested in sports, I will be freaking stoked to see
Mm-hmm.
that happen because it is really, really cool. But as I say, like you said, I wonder, I've thought about this a lot. When do we lose our confidence in our ability to learn? Because I think it's not just our confidence in our ability to do, but it's our confidence in our ability to learn. Society at some point, whether it is through social pressure or high school or wherever it is, there's somewhere in there that a lot of us stop trusting our innate ability to learn something new. And I think that's like all comes back to that idea that we were talking about with sport kettlebell, with Ollie. You have to have a lot of tenacity and willingness to learn if you're going to be good at something like that. And I think a lot of folks, especially because how many newbies do you train? And what would you say is like the most difficult part of working with a newbie and then the most rewarding part?
Honestly, I would say most of my clients come to me as newbies. Which I love so much. I work with a lot of people who I am their first ever coach that they've ever had, which is my fucking favorite thing in the whole world. I love it. It's people who are like saw me do it or saw someone else do it, and they're like, I think I have a sport kettlebell because people got a bunch of kettlebells. Like, why? Well, I mean, let me try that. Like, why not? And that's great. So I genuinely, and then I have people who have stuck with me obviously well past beginner age. But I think most of the people who are doing competitions still started with me all as beginners, and I love it. Like, it's I love working with people who have never had a coach, and I mean, like, or like never had a coach in the sport that we do, because there's just so many like gotcha moments that you get to be a part of. Kettlebell sport is really technical, and it's the whole thing for sport is being like highly efficient, because we're going for 10 minutes without putting the bell down, with only one hand switch or no hand switches if it's double bells. So it has to be as efficient as humanly possible in order to do that, because if it's not, you're not going to make it.
The biomechanics of that are so cool.
And that's why the technique is so different from like a hard style technique that you'll generally see, because we're going for an entirely different goal. And I love that. And I love having these parts of the lifts that are so hard. Like, the drop on snatch is really hard. The insertion on snatch is really hard, or on the clean, because even if they're coming from hard style, the timing isn't completely different because their legs are doing something different. And there comes a moment when we're learning, when it's something I say, something they do differently, just clicks into place.
Yes.
And it happens, and they do a good rep, and they like get this look in their eyes, or they send me a video of them getting it, and they're like, I did it. Like, I know you did it. Now just do that over and over and over again.
Yeah,
and
just keep doing it.
And I love it. I don't really have, I like anybody who works with me knows how excited I get for people doing that. I don't have anything that would change with them, because everyone's different. Everyone's got different things that they're working with, different strengths, weaknesses, builds, because your technique is going to be different based on if you're a 60-kilo woman versus a 90-kilo man. And that's cool. And finding out like, okay, what I did for Bob over here is not going to work for Jill, because she's a teeny tiny lady and he is a giant man. So his arms are longer than hers are. So like the way we're going to adjust for that is different. And I mostly do work with a lot of beginners, and then they just stick with me, which is really cool, which I appreciate deeply.
It's super rewarding. It's super rewarding to have folks who have stuck with you, because I've had a couple clients, probably like my core 5 to 8 clients have stuck. Oh, my private clients have stuck with me since I started my business, like within that first year. And I look like at the way I used to program versus now having gone to like school and interned and worked with athletes, and the things they're doing now are so wildly different than what they were doing before. And, it's been really beautiful. You get to see their life journey. I have one client who had a baby. So now I get to use my pre and postpartum certification knowledge for her. Like, I think, and then like you were saying, working with different body types. is so
Mm-hmm.
rewarding. Getting to see people learn and click, and that confidence they gain in their body and their ability to move and their ability to learn is like, it's magic. It really is cool
Yeah.
to see what they learn.
Yeah, like I love my new people who come in with like no knowledge and have no idea what they're doing. And I love my people that I've worked with, like my client that came up recently I visited with. I've been working with since I was a group trainer in San Diego, and she used to come to my 6 a.m. classes in San Diego.
Oh my
And
gosh.
and then when I switched to a different gym, she came to that gym, followed me over there. And then when I was like, I guess I'm doing online training now, she was like, cool, I'll do that now too. And I was
And
like, okay,
honestly,
cool,
like,
thanks.
God bless clients who are that flexible. I think
Yeah.
all of mine have been. So I had a client call
And
today, and it's
yeah.
crazy.
So the way that her training has changed, and also how her goals have changed in that time is phenomenal. You're like, oh, cool. Like we were just working on like learning the basics back then, or just like getting fit, like however the heck that means.
Yeah,
When
right.
you're coming to my group training classes, and now we're like, okay, let's like, how can we like max out all your kettlebells and see how heavy you can press? Like let's make it so you have to get new kettlebells, which is the coolest thing. Do you have like a specific type of client or like person that you work type goals that you work for, or
So in the beginning, I actually went viral on TikTok in the queer community, which was really cool because I came out in 2020 as bisexual, which was very rewarding. Yay, we love it. I saw that, I clocked that in the background, and I was like, oh, freaking yeah.
Yeah, here we
So
are.
it has been a really wonderful mix with my private client group of neurodivergent queers, which I absolutely adore. And then with the tabletop role playing group, it has also just been a really wonderful group of neurodivergent queers. And that seems not that I wouldn't ever train, anyone.
Anyone.
I love working with everyone. I really do. But that seems to be what I attract, is that like neurospicy energy. And then I think right now I'm really trying to like beef up my clientele with the tabletop role playing programs, because
Mm-hmm.
I am loving it. I love getting to gamify fitness for people. I love how
Love
I've had
gaming
folks
fitness.
come to me and say, like, hey, I also have ADHD. So I have folks who are like, I have ADHD. I have a really tough time sticking with gym routines because I get bored. And there's dice rolls, there's storytelling. Like, they have a way to engage with the workout that's different than just showing up at the gym or showing up in a way. So I think right now that is really who I love working with. But
Mm-hmm.
it's just sort of been like neurospicy, queer, cool, nerdy people.
That's
just
great.
connecting with all of it.
Can you talk a little bit more about your program as we're getting to the end here? Talk about it,
Yeah.
sell it a little bit.
Oh my God. Yeah. So funny enough, I was doing like what basically everyone's trying to do these days, where you like want to make a group online and you want to help
Mhm.
give people more access to strength in a way that's cheaper, that takes some of the, I don't want to say takes the work off of it for us, because I would say I probably work harder on the TTRPG programs than I do for my private client
I
programs,
did my
because
group training one in December, and or like that holiday themed one, and I was like, man, I put so many
you
hours.
put so much work
I put
into it. And
so
like
many hours into that thing.
when I
And I'm
first started
building
this,
one now too, and
it's crazy.
it's a lot of work.
And when I first started this, I didn't plan to like, basically in and of itself, I'm kind of writing them like a very, very, very watered down campaign. It has not turned into like a full D&D campaign in the workout. I think long term, I would love for it to turn into that. But that was never even part of the plan, was to have like storytelling in there for them. It was just going to be like, here's some dice rolls, here's some ways to like, for instance, every phase is based off of a different like role playing class. So for the strength one, that's like there's intermediate tiers. So there's the beginner one, which is 12 weeks of just like getting movement patterns down, learning the basics in the gym. I've had folks who are used to strength training do the beginners one just to get them back into it. And then there's an intermediate tier and there's an advanced tier. So the advanced tier is where I'm doing like a lot of training them for Ollie, giving them more speed work that I would give my athletes, stuff like that. The intermediate one is like basic strength and conditioning. Let's get your heart rate up. Let's do some metcons. Let's get your basic lifts stronger, and let's experiment a little bit. But I never anticipated writing them stories. And now they'll come in and like usually I do it like every 2 to 3 weeks in the program. They'll have some kind of combat role. where I
That's
think
so
my
fun.
favorite one that I wrote recently was like, you wake up and there's like a fire going on. It's written much more eloquently than this. And they had two options. They had to roll a perception check. And if they noticed the enemy, they would go and they would run off into the woods and they would fight a wizard. And there was a different set of exercises for fighting this wizard. And then in the other one, you would fight like two werewolves. And if you didn't notice the
That's
wizard,
fun.
and you had to do all
How,
these different exercises.
where do you host this so you can like do
True
different?
Coach has worked best for me because it gives me the ability to just like write a ton of stuff. I've
Mm.
actually talking to a couple different coaches who are looking at switching to EverFit because it offers different movement options. What do you like host your programs on?
Well, for like my regular like programming clients that I've been working with, I just use Google Docs. Like
I love
really,
it.
it doesn't cost me any money and it works for
Yeah.
everyone. And so that's where I started. And I was just because you were saying like you had like different sets of exercises, so I wasn't sure if it was
Yeah.
like a link to something else or something. But
No, so I use True
yeah.
Coach.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that when I was looking for my Christmas program that I did. I did. So the Google Docs is my main one, but I use Stomble for the other one.
Okay.
And I've been writing my current one that I'm working on. It's video game themed, which is a lot of fun.
Fun.
I don't think I've actually announced. Maybe I'll announce before. Maybe this will be the announcement. That's what I'm working on right now. And I'm really excited about it. So I'm trying to figure out where to host it because I'm like, do people like the Samba one? Or maybe I should do the other ones because there's so many options. But also, I hate apps. Like, I hate having to download apps.
Yeah.
I got one of my friend's programs recently, and he had to download an app, and I was like, your program's so good, but fuck, I had to download another app. I'm just so tired of apps, and it's such a like a I don't know, it feels a little boomery to like all these apps on the internet, but
There's so many apps, and there's so many in our field.
Yeah, so I don't know what's good, and I also don't want to like make people to buy a whole new one. But that I'm doing like my big outline of all of the things that I'm doing, but I'm really excited to build it out. But I'm getting to the point where I'm going to have to actually pick what thing I'm using. But I've been seeing you post about your TTRPG. I was going to totally mess it up. Program for a while, and it looks like so much fun. It looks like you were having fun, and it looks like the people that are doing it are having a great time, which I think is such
I did not anticipate it. I really went because the whole plan was just like do some kind of group program, and I did that for a year. And I had people sign up, but it wasn't at all the way the excitement has spread for these, and like getting to fine tune them and change them and get feedback from people. Because I'm basically going to go through and revamp the beginners one. So it's a lot more, it's very walkthrough style, but I want it to have more videos of me for them. There are videos of me, but like I really want it to be like, hey, let's do the first workout together. I want the beginners to feel like they can come in and they are getting like, this is what this should feel like. This is where you should feel it.
Yeah, that's what takes the longest time is the filming.
Filming
when I did
content.
When I did that, like my Christmas Jingle All the Weights program, I filmed. It was like 4 or 5 hours. I filmed every single movement that I did, and it took like a full day. It was like a full day of filming because I broke down all of the movements, and then a whole nother day to edit, and then a whole nother day to upload. I was like, oh God, I'd have to do that all over again if I switch services. I don't know if I have it in me.
It's crazy. I have like 60 exercise video demos just for the one program that I'm slowly getting uploaded, because that's the other thing about having a kid and running a business is, she doesn't go to daycare. She's home with me all day, which is absolute freaking blessing. But my work hours, if I'm lucky, are 9 to 11 at night. And sometimes I'm really tired. So things like having
I can't imagine
videos.
why.
It's True Coach is cool because it has videos in there. I will say, and this is no
Stumble,
shade,
which is really nice.
Yeah, no shade to the videos that they have in there, but sometimes I like some of the athletes that are doing the things are hypermobile, and I'm like, y'all, this is not what it's going to look like when another person who's not hypermobile is doing this. And like, love their athletes. They've got all the demo videos in there. That's fantastic. But
That's nice.
boy, howdy, like I need this to look a specific way sometimes. And that's where it's like, okay, I'll step in, I'll film this myself, or I'll find another video, because you can upload videos from YouTube or whatever. But True Coach works because it lets you write paragraphs if you want to. And when you're writing a story, because like not every workout has those paragraphs, but when I need them, I'm able to do that.
Yeah, you can still write. You can write a lot on the ensemble one too. So it sounds very similar.
Yeah,
I think they're all basically the same thing.
Yeah,
which is why it's so confusing.
Everfit didn't seem like it let me write as much, because I looked into it before I launched this program. And then with the gym that I work at, I've also used what is it called? It's not Trainerize, which I've also heard of, but it's Team Builder. Team Builder is, you can put a lot of information in there, but I've used Team Builder for the pre and postnatal program that I did. It wasn't my personal favorite app from a user experience. So I was like, if I didn't love it as a user, I'm not going to use it as a coach.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, it's hard. It's always stupid little things that are like hard to figure out.
And it's not always going to work for everyone either. I have people who reach out to me with the TTRPG programs and they're like, hey, there's a learning curve with this app. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I recognize that. But I'm one person and I can't make my own app. I can't
do everything. I know. No, my friend just made her own app and everything. And I was just
so much
like,
respect for that, but I don't have the funds for that.
I don't have the time. I don't have the skills. Like I'm good at all things. I know
someone who does that.
I was like, man, that looks so cool. I'm so proud of you. There's no way. Like
it's another level.
I know there's got to be a limit to what I'm going to be able to learn. And computer science is probably that limit. No. I can now mod video games, but that's about all I've got.
Ooh, that's fun though.
Yes, I'm modding my new games with my fancy new PC. So
wait, what? And now I must ask, just as like a little treat for me, what games do you enjoy modding? What's your current favorite game?
Well, I've been in a Baldur's Gate 3 kick since February.
I'm gonna say that's my parenting complaint. As someone who loves D&D, I have not gotten to play Baldur's Gate because I am raising my child, and I'm like, damn it.
Such a tragedy. Whatever you do, it's a lot of fun. So I'm doing that, and then and I played that on the Xbox. We have an Xbox. That's where we're playing mostly. But the problem is that my husband plays games with his friends online, and I was like, I want to play my games. So it was becoming okay, I'll play for another hour and then you can play your games with your friends, and then tomorrow, like it was like that. And I needed a PC for editing purposes, and just like it'd be nice to have an actual computer versus a Chromebook. So my brother, who is a complete tech nerd, who also I think wanted me to have a PC so I could play games with him and his wife, was like, I will do all the research. And and I was like, as long as I can play Baldur's Gate 3,
heck yeah,
you can do this. And he found one and he like installed everything, and I was like, cool. So I did that, and then I've been playing Stardew Valley Extended.
I love Stardew Valley.
I've played through the whole entire, like, everything that you can do on the Switch. And that was the other thing, is everything comes out to PC faster. And I was really sad that I was like, they had all the patches and stuff, and I was like, I'm missing all this stuff. So
my husband is a PC gamer and I am a console gamer, so we luckily never had that like switch. We have said though, it's the beauty of, you know, when you do have a child, if for whoever out there that listens to this, wants one, chooses to have one, has one, you know, you get to see what they're interested in. And we do joke, like, if she's ever interested in having a battle station, we want to just like set up like a console or a PC or a console for all three of us. And like, because right now Destiny just came out with their newest expansion, their big one. So he is deep in that. It's very cool just to be like a video game household.
Yeah, it was fun. We played the whole game through together, and then I was like, and he had a good time. We played through it a couple times together, and I was like, I just want to play this all of the time. So I'm gonna just chase that, like, while it's still giving me the serotonin boost that it is currently giving me, and it's giving me all new serotonin boosts when I'm playing it with mods. So I'm having even more fun. So I was like, I'm just gonna keep chasing that a little high, and if it leaves me, I'll find something new.
I need to make a separate channel in my Discord for my group program because they talk about, we have a video game channel in the Discord because the TTRPG group, they can all like talk to each other. And I need to make a separate channel for Baldur's Gate because the video game channel is essentially just a Baldur's Gate channel because since it is, it's a TTRPG game, they all love D&D, and so they all love Baldur's Gate.
I put hundreds and hundreds of hours into this game. It's great.
I've heard it's a time sink for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. In the best way. Like, no one is complaining about it.
I'm not mad about it. It's just like, oh, it's been 2 hours and I've, robbed a million people and killed a million goblins. So,
What is your current run? What are you playing?
I'm currently doing, I'm doing a Gale Origin. Is one. That's the one I'm playing on the console.
Okay.
And then I'm doing Drow Paladin Dark Urge. Is my current playthrough I'm doing on the PC.
Well, Paladin Dark Urge is fun.
Yes. She's an Oath of Vengeance. She has not yet broken her oath, which is surprising.
Oh my gosh.
I'm waiting for it. But I'm trying to do all the different types. So I've done the first one I did was Druid, and then I did a Bard, then I did a Sorcerer, then I did a Monk. Then I did Gale, so a Wizard, and now I'm doing a Paladin because I got Minthara for one of our playthroughs, and I was like, oh, I want to do this. It's very fun to smite people. I want to smite everyone.
I was gonna say, have you played D&D itself?
I have a little bit in college, but then like people graduated and it stopped.
Yeah.
So I haven't played since then, which is I
was gonna say I'm currently playing a paladin in my campaign, and it is like our first campaign that we ever finished. That was a barbarian, which is just like smack hit punch. Loved it.
Yes, that's what my husband played as. Yeah, we were surprisingly a good team because he's much more like, I'm just gonna go do this thing, and I'm much more like thinking things out. So he's like, I play
the same way, but
Berserker.
Reverse.
Yeah, I play Berserker, Barbarian. I go hit things, and I'm like in the back, like throwing spells and turning into a bear and whatever the heck I was doing. So it worked out really well. And then we did the same. Then I was a monk because I was like, this is fun, and punching people to death is even more fun. So I'm well, I think I have taken up a lot of your time. So
all good. This has been fantastic
on the internet. We'll keep talking. We'll just make it not podcast. We can just actually talk about D&D.
Unfortunately, I actually don't know how long it's been. I was gonna say I do have to go pick up my kid.
Yeah, I probably have to pick up your child. Yeah, where can people find you on the internet?
So I am on all platforms, I think, except YouTube. On YouTube, I'm just Taylor Neal because that was the one place where I was able to get my handle and be like, it's my name, which never happens. But everywhere else, you could just find me at Tailored for Strength, which is a pun. So it is TAYLORED, and then the words for strength, FOR, and strength at the end. No asterisks, underscores, anything in the middle. And then, so launched my TTRPG programs in March. They're still going. They're a group program that if anyone's ever looking to find information about, you can either check out my profile. I talk about them all the time, or you can check out my website. And this has been fantastic.
I know, it's so much fun. Glad we got to like connect and talk in real life. And thank you so much.
I learned so much about what we have in common.
That was such a fun conversation. I hope y'all enjoyed it as much as I did. Make sure you're following Taylor on all of the things. All of her socials are linked in the show notes, alongside links to her TTRPG program and one-on-one coaching options. And please subscribe, rate, and review. It helps so much, and I really, really appreciate it. Also, my Gamer's Guide to Strength comes out at the end of July, so sign up for that, because it's going to be an absolute blast. And that is all for now. I'll be back soon with another guest, another episode real soon. Bye!